Hello, coming to you from an undisclosed location, and we're reading from Medical Apartheid, chapter. What chapter is this? Is it chapter 8? Um, and we're continuing to read about eugenics and, um, and really the medical system in the United States. Sanger left another important legacy. She supported the development of the birth control pill. Waves of social and political transformation roiled the 1960s and 1970s. But some of the most lasting revolutions were triggered by a single medical event: the development of the pill. It placed cheap, easy contraception within every woman's grasp for the first time, with an ideal laboratory rate of 98% effectiveness. The women's movement was galvanized by the sudden ability to reliably uncouple sex from procreation. So was the sexual revolution. The birth control pill was developed during an era in which abortion was still illegal, but laws prohibiting contraceptive use also remained in effect until the 1960s, and the distribution of information about contraception was not legalized until 1971. Legal spermicide creams and jellies were expensive, hard to obtain, and unreliable. So were the back alley abortions from which thousands of women died horribly. The pill was made available to poor black women free or cheaply from government-sponsored Planned Parenthood clinics in central urban areas, facilities that were the direct progeny of Singer's Negro Project clinics. Clinics had many other contraceptive technologies in their arsenal, including condoms and diaphragms, barrier methods that physically blocked access of semen to the uterine neck, backed up by spermicidal jellies and creams. Clinics also fitted more African American women than white women with intrauterine devices, or IUDs. Oh, I'm sorry. Intrauterine devices, or IUDs. Oh man, tired today is hot. But a history of forcible sterilization fed suspicions that the federally financed birth control clinics in their neighborhoods were attempts to discover the best way to limit or even to erase the black presence in America. Florida NAACP Director Marvin Davies argued that blacks needed to produce as many babies as possible until blacks constituted 30 to 35% of Americans. In 1962, the National Urban League rescinded its support of contraception, and so did many local NAACP chapters. 28% of the blacks surveyed in the late 1960s agreed that encouraging blacks to use birth control is comparable to trying to eliminate this group from society. These genocidal fears were dismissed as paranoia, but prominent white physicians had long advocated a reduction in black births as a means of pinching off the race. In 1903, for example, politically influential physician Charles S. Bacon, MD, advocated that the black belt will be defined by the government as a Negro reservation similar to Indian reservations. The plan that has worked so well in its treatment of the Indian question until it has practically eliminated the question with the race. The 1967 Black Power Conference in Newark, New Jersey, passed a resolution that equated birth control with black genocide, and in that year, a crowd of blacks chanted genocide as they burned down a Cleveland, Ohio contraceptive clinic. Those who cried genocide found support in a United Nations resolution on December 9, 1948, in reaction to the Nazi-engineered European Holocaust. The United Nations Convention on the Prevention of Punishment of the Crime of Genocide unanimously passed a genocide provision prescribing any attempt to destroy a racial or religious group by killing or harming its members. Resolution 260 A of the United Nations General Assembly of 1948 states in part, genocide means any of the following acts committed with intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnical, I think they mean ethical, racial, or religious group as such. Killing members of the group, causing serious bodily or mentally harm to members of the group, emphasis added, and deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. We're getting all three of those, even today. The document also prohibited imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group, emphasis added, and forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. Many blacks argue that the birth control movement per se constitutes genocide under Article D because its negative eugenic stance has consistently targeted blacks. By 1972, the American Journal of Public Health verified that the load of genocidal fears had widened. 40% of the surveyed blacks now believe birth control clinics were a ploy to eradicate blacks, and these respondents expressed a deep distrust of sterilization programs, abortion clinics, and any birth control programs run by whites. However, a strong gender divide prevailed. Men were much more likely to denounce birth control as genocide than women, especially young, less well-educated, poor, and northern men. In contrast, most black women embrace birth control, and more women than men countenanced abortion. In 1970, social activist Donald Bogue, um, found that 80% of the black women he surveyed in Chicago approved of birth control, and 75% were using it. Unlike Fannie Lou Hamer, many black women of the post-pill generation had career options. Thanks to the racial integration of schools and workplaces, women were eager, excuse me, women were eager to leave unskilled labor behind and to enter the professional sphere. So they wished to delay the responsibilities of motherhood until they were ready. And most of them became part of the professional managerial class, PMCs. So, and we know how that ended up. All right, Medical Apartheid by Harriet Washington. We continue to read it. Continue to read it. Until next time, stay safe and stay sane.